In this video, we're going to be talking about finding X and Y intercepts. So here you see a coordinate plane, and we know that this is the x-axis and that this is the y-axis. And if we were to draw a line across those two axes, the place or the coordinate, the point where it crosses the x-axis is our x-intercept, and the point where it hits the y-axis is our y-intercept. So when we talk about X and Y intercepts, this is what we're looking for. Now, if you're reading a word problem, there's some key words to signal that you are looking for an intercept, be it X or Y, and some of those words are hits. If it hits the x-axis, we're looking for an x-intercept. Touches, if it touches the y-axis, we are looking for a y-intercept. Other words are meets, intersects, or crosses. So any of these signal that you are looking for either an X or a Y-intercept. Now, to find the X-intercept, remember it is where it crosses the X-axis, so we would be going over a certain number of units, but we are not going up at all. So this is going to be something comma 0 for Y because we don't have a Y value here. We're not going up. So to find an X-intercept, you plug 0 into Y, and then you solve for the X value that you're looking for. Likewise, if we want to find a y-intercept, well, here I didn't go left or right. I didn't go any units in the x direction, so I just went up to this y value here. So our y-intercept is going to have a 0 in place of x and then some coordinate in y. So to find the y-intercept, we would need to plug 0 into x and solve for y. Now, let's look at an example. In this instance, we are just asked to find the coordinates where this line meets, that's our key word, both the x and the y-axis. So in this case, they want us to find both the x-intercept and the y-intercept. So we're going to set up two columns here. To find the x-intercept, remember, we plug 0 into y, because if it's the x-intercept, we want to find a value for x. So if I plug 0 into y, I have 0 equals 3x minus 7, and I then need to solve for x. So I add 7 to both sides. I get 7 equals 3x, divide by 3. I get 7/3 as my x value when I solve this, and this is actually my x-intercept. So when I write my coordinate, I'm going to write 7/3 in place of x, but 0 in place of y, because 0 was what we plugged in for y. Now to find the y-intercept, I'm going to take the same equation, but this time I'm going to plug 0 into x. I get y equals 3 times 0 is 0. Minus 7, so this simplifies to y equals 7. This is my y-intercept of 7, and so when I write the coordinate, I will put 0 into x because that's what I plugged in here for x, and when I plugged in 0 for x, I got 7 for y. So this is the x-intercept, and this is the y-intercept, or the locations where it meets the x and y axes. One more example. Here's a line, y equals negative 2x minus 1, and we are told that this line meets the x-axis at some point P. Line A then has gradient of 4 and goes through point P. Write the equation of line A. When you have a problem like this, I encourage you to take it one part or one step at a time, and usually that's one sentence. So if we read this first sentence, the line y equals negative 2x minus 1 meets the x-axis at the point P. So probably we need to find the point P, which we know because it meets the x-axis, is an x-intercept, so it's going to have some value we don't know for x, but 0 for y. So I'm going to take this equation that they give us, negative 2x minus 1, and I'm going to plug 0 into y, and then solve for x. So when we do that, we're going to add 1 to both sides. I get 1 equals negative 2x, and I'm dividing by negative 2. So our x-intercept in this case is negative 1/2. And again, we can write that as negative 1/2. 0, since they called this point P, I'm just going to label this P here. So I have this. Now we are told line A has gradient, which is also the same thing as slope, gradient of 4. And goes through this point P. So we know that line A has gradient 4 and actually goes through this point P that we found. We are asked to then write the equation of line A, and remember to write the equation of any line. All you need is a point and a slope, which we now have. So I can use point-slope form. Y minus this 0 here equals 4 is our slope times x minus the x value of my point. Cleaning this up, I don't need this 0 here. Here's a 4, and I get x. This double negative makes plus 1/2. Now, I could leave it like this, or you could choose to write it in slope-intercept or standard form. But this is the equation of line A, which crosses through point P, which was an x-intercept of this line.